Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have 5:31. We're going to open up our third public hearing for the millage rate. As we discussed in the last two, the county has decided to kind of hold the line on our millage rate. So we're still maintaining the 3.862 is what we're maintaining. So we'll ask Commissioner Patterson if he has anything before we open it up to the public.
No, sir. I feel that the way things are, we need to hold that so we can help, with our folks here in the county as far as our employees. And again, I just feel like that's the right thing to do at this time.
Commissioner Searcy?
Dittos, I feel the same. I mean, I surely don't want to go up on nothing, so I mean,
All right, so that being said, we'll open the floor to the citizens' comments. If you want to raise your hand, come up to the podium, tell us where you live. And, yes, ma'am.
I'm Kathy Conrad. I live near West Fannin Elementary, and it's my understanding that once you get grandfathered in or something like that, you get some kind of exemption. You've been here for so long, I forget what it's called. After that, your millage rate stays the same.
like, you talking about homestead?
Homestead, that's
State
it.
exemption.
That's it, thank you.
Ma'am,
That's
that's
all.
all.
That's
There
what I do.
there is not such a thing as being grandfathered as to the millage rate.
Okay,
Everybody's property is subject to reassessment.
right.
And then, as a general rule, the procedure is to try to reassess the entire county in thirds, so every 3 years. But everybody's property is subject to whatever the millage rate is set. No, good question.
I was
That's
curious,
a good
thank you.
question. Thanks, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you, ma'am.
And just so everybody's clear, I want to make sure everybody understands. Our millage rate last year was 3.862. This year is 3.862. The Board of Education went from 10.391 down to 10.159.
Okay.
So our millage rate last year for both was 14.253. It's actually going down to 14.021. So your overall millage rate will be coming down for sure. So you should be seeing that, as far as your taxes goes, you should be seeing a reduction in that. So anyone else? I thought you guys were here for this. Come on.
No.
Hold it back.
You're not that lucky.
I was trying to look at this guy right. I was like, I don't know about that guy. Can I take him or no?
Getting ready.
I really am just kidding, honestly. So I didn't need enough Wheaties today. Anybody else?
I think it's wonderful that the school district was able to go down in their budget.
Yeah.
I hope that there's good management all the way around and we still have a bunch of kids going through. That's the most important.
Absolutely, I agree.
Good quality education.
That's right.
Anyone else? We'll give another just a few minutes. That way, if you do have something, we didn't miss anybody. Just quiet. All right. If nobody has anything else to say as far as the millage rate goes, I'll make a motion that we close the third public hearing for the millage rate.
Second.
All in favor? All right, we're closed. of course, with inclement weather, there wasn't that many people here, but we did have, we had someone that was for and against. Both made some pretty good arguments either way. We had our building inspector here, our land development, Marie Woody was here. We had still had some concerns one way or the other as we move forward. There was still some unknowns, so that's kind of what we had as far as that.
So in the county right now,
Mhm.
is it that you can build a tiny home if you meet certain rules and regulations, but they can't be sold, they have to be maintained?
So it's to my understanding that if you want to put one, if you own 2 acres and you want to put one for your personal use, you could do that. Okay, as long as you met all the standards and everything is that.
Water, yeah.
What we're here was the tiny home subdivision.
Right, that's why we're all,
Yeah.
that's why we're here.
So that's where, obviously, you know, when you're putting in more than, I think, best of my knowledge, more than 3. More than
3 lots or
Three.
more.
3 lots or more constituted a subdivision.
Okay,
So
and that's currently the rule.
that's why we're here as far as
Yes.
the moratorium.
That is
goes.
currently
Yes.
the rule.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that county or city?
Be the county.
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 Yeah.
So 3 or more would trigger the subdivision
Mm-hmm.
Right.
rule.
Right.
Okay,
That's why you could do it with your property.
Sure.
So we're looking more at subdivisions in this, you know, than the individual.
right.
Well, we're looking at a beautiful pasture that's been, belonged to Mr. Devers
Devers.
for years. I'm Maria Rouse. I live on Eagle Top and Locust.
You want to come up here at the mic?
Oh, boy. All right.
Just bend it down.
There you go.
I'm Maria Rouse. I live on squirrel hunting, where squirrel hunting, Eagle Top, and Locust join. Okay. Right to my left on squirrel hunting is a huge, beautiful plot of land that has been purchased. And we are under the understanding that if this, and I might be putting words incorrectly, but if a small house community goes up in that plot of land, that's 90 acres, it's going to change where we live by far. Okay, that is one of my big concerns as I'm looking at those beautiful cows right now. Whatever a person does with that land, I understand, but is there a way that something from the neighbors can say, this place is really beautiful, it works out well for everybody who lives there, and we're very glad that the road got paved. Oh gosh, so glad. But we really are very concerned that something like that would be constructed in. It would be very difficult to see the flavor and the tenor of our home. Our home. We all live in a beautiful place in Georgia. Something like that, and it's such a difficult spot anyway. We would like to find out what the rules and regs are. We know we can't stop somebody from doing it, but my goodness.
Is there anybody here that's for? Okay.
I'm not their
I
spokesman.
didn't mean
No,
to.
I'm not
interrupt
their
you.
spokesman. I don't know if you've got
No,
anything else you would prefer to say.
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
I'm gonna
about
say
it.
something too.
I'm Tim Stanton, and I lived here probably about 7 years, had a cabin at the top of Turkey Ridge Road, provided from Marie's. I think all of us, are all in the same neighborhoods up there. And the land, almost all the land off Squirrel Hunting Road, if you remember, it was all gravel road for years. And all that land up there is a bunch of, most of the cabins, farmhouses, most everything has anywhere from 3 acres up. So if I'm just saying this is just one place in particular. There's other places in the county you gotta be concerned about too. We might dodge a bullet, and the guy that built it, there's a possibility that they'll do 3 to 6 acre houses out there, and we won't have to worry. But living here and coming up from Kennesaw where I live, and we've been coming up here for 25 years. I mean, the county, the reason people come up here from there is to get away from everything. If you bring a lot of small homes, like, and especially a subdivision on 96 acres, with those at, say maybe a third of an acre, you could build 350 houses there. That'd jump at least to 350 cars on a road, on a side road, and then they're all coming in town. But that's just one spot in the county. I mean, there's so many different beautiful places that we all enjoy, and you don't begrudge people that don't have enough money to have one, but these be turning in more to B&B type things. And so that's a concern of people coming in, because you got so many people that live here, but you also have people that are here part-time, and you have to worry about transit people coming in and out and going around to, as far as, worried about your property. We've been up there, we had one break-in years ago from, I think you remember us, father and son from Tennessee, robbed about 9 cabins, including a couple of ours here. And we haven't had trouble since, but that land and other land is just not conducive to that. I don't think you go into a neighborhood that has 3 to 5 acre lots for most everybody there, and you put a bunch of tiny homes. And it's got a stream running through it, so you're looking at septic tanks, and all the wildlife that you have that's gonna, the turkey, the deer, occasional bear, although I hear about bears, but I've never seen one. My girls and grandkids have not seen a bear.
I'll invite you to the house.
Yeah,
Went to my house.
So yeah, you worry about it. We all go looking at the deer on the wildlife, we get a stream running through there, and it will make a big difference. Just houses make a big difference, but my gosh, if you have those tiny homes all over, it's not much different than really an RV park. And it's not conducive, because a lot of these places, it's just out of sight. That land up there is just beautiful rolling hills, and which is most of the county.
Can I add one more? It's like an amphitheater. We're above this big piece of cow pasture, just basically all of us are. And that is it's just very hilly with the stream going through it down at the bottom.
Right.
But the noise factor, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it'll be brutal.
The roads, yeah, it is gonna be.
And it's just traffic, not only for, but it's not only for our neighborhood, because that'd be just selfish to think of our own self. The thing is, anybody here that has something like that going to your neighborhood, or the amount of people that's gonna be flowing into this town that we already have, that's gonna be overloaded. I mean, that's massive. Plus, what kind of tax revenue are you really getting out of that? I mean, you're gonna have maybe $80 a night B&Bs, maybe $50,000 houses. It's not gonna bring much tax revenue if you start building a bunch of tiny houses on land. And I don't know if you've been into any counties that have that, but they go down quite quickly if you take a look at it. So you're worried about your tax base, you're worried about the environment, what it brings out, you're worried about the traffic. Those are 3 big things that I see that would be a problem. So if there was some way, not just a moratorium, but just be able to stop that from happening anywhere in the county, I think that's something that really needs to be looked at.
And those are things that you mentioned that we're all taking in consideration too, because we've lived here all our lives.
Right.
So, and that land is precious to us too.
Thank you.
Because we grew up on that land. So, I got out today, I was going to tell you, I got out and I rode around, I done some calling. I talked to several realtors, and I know a lot of people retired, they come up here and they invest their money and they buy their land and stuff, and I don't want to do anything that's going to bring down or hurt that investment that they've done, but I also want to take care of my property, my land here, because this is land, like I said, we all grew up here on it. And I don't want to get, we got to do some kind of controlled growth on that. Our water is very precious up here to us, and so we need to, and we're going to, I'm sure this board will, we're going to do everything we can within our powers to see that we do as much protection of it and our citizens that we can.
Right.
So
I appreciate that.
So much.
And that Appalachian water, if anybody has that, you got well water, it's hard enough to keep what the houses that we have up there.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to get any kind of pressure. Everybody's got to have a pressure pump. Now we're adding all these houses down there. We didn't even have any, but I'm not sure who bought the land, but whoever bought the land there, we're waiting to see what they're gonna do. They put some stuff, and they got a plan, so,
And
I'm
the
not sure
creek
it's on,
runs all the
like I say, it's
way.
96 on Squirrel Hunt Road, that was Evers, he owned our land, that we were there, Corky Evers. And, so, the guy across the street from that land, I mean, he put $1.5 million in that house in the stable. I mean, he's not here today because didn't know about the meeting, but he's got 40-something acres across the street. And that's just beautiful land. He's gonna be overlooking this, whatever it is.
See, we're responsible for
Right.
protecting his
Yeah.
investment too, so.
Yeah, so I appreciate it coming from Warner Robins, Georgia, a small town there too when I was growing up. And so, this come here is just beautiful. So just like to put my points in, just keep it that way for the whole county.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jim, about, sorry.
Hello, my name's Tommy Williams. I'm your neighbor. I live on, my family has owned the property 50 years, and I built a house on there 21 years ago on my part of it. And then me and my brother recently were able to buy it back. So on 4001 Cut Cane Road, I'm across from the Appalachian Trail Ride. So I've been on that property for 50 years. And I read through the stuff, and we have a beautiful piece of property. If you remember Seeley, he bought it from my father. And so he passed away, so we were able to buy it back. But it's a beautiful piece of property. And we've got a lot of artifacts on there, Indians. We've got a rock cave that was carved into the side of a huge rock. And I think it might have been part of the Underground Railroad. But I was reading through everything that y'all provide, and I noticed that the land development is all about keeping the land pristine. I've got more than 50 springs coming up on my property. People put horses out there, they defecate in the water, everywhere. I've cleaned mine all back up. There was horses on my property. And we've had a well there that, if you've been there all your life, you know that it's very famous to everybody up and down Cut Cane. They would come there and drink from Mount Gilead Baptist Church. It's special water to them. So my point is, the whole point of a tiny home is a sled or on wheels. You put it on your property so that you can take it off your property and leave your property pristine. You don't have to have roads to your tiny homes. Any of this other stuff that I don't understand. The whole point, I want to keep this property like it is, but I want my family to enjoy it. And when you said 3 or more is a subdivision, and if you had 2 for personal use, what does that mean? You can only live in one house. I'm just trying to get a clarification on that.
Well, to me, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I think the difference is that we're not saying anything against, I don't think anybody else is either, that on your property, if you want to put you a little tiny home for your kids to come up there too, hey, they'll enjoy it, I'm sure. But the thing that we're saying is that you take that pristine property that you've got with all these wells and stuff, I don't think, personally speaking, and I live up in that area, I don't think I would want to see just tiny home subdivision go right next to your property. I don't know if you would or not, but I personally don't think that I would want to do that, because there again, you got to look at the traffic, you got to look at all the other stuff that's going to happen down through there. Plus, you got to think about the value of your land. Is your farm going to be worth what it is today or tomorrow if you had a bunch of those subdivisions around your property? I wouldn't want to buy your property.
I don't see why a tiny home brings your property value down. Another thing, if you've got a $500,000 home and you're sitting on 50 acres of land, and then today, right now today, if somebody from Florida, Atlanta, New York, or wherever comes in here and you put this $1 million price tag on it, those people, they say, realtors, I checked with a lot of realtors, people's doing cash buys, they're jumping on everything right now if you want to sell your home. But the problem in selling that home for that is that you're going to have to
the same problem in trying to build another home for that amount of money because of the way prices are today. But what I'm saying is that I don't think that I would want to buy your property if I knew that there was a bunch of tiny homes around all this property that I've got to worry about who's coming in to stay. And I'm a cop though too, so I'm going to worry about my neighbors, you know. So I want to know what's going on in the neighborhood basically. So I just don't know, and I have to be open-minded. And I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm trying to understand what you're telling me and what you told me and what these other people have said. So I've got to take this and think this all through, you know. And I just, because I'm not really.
Well, I built $1 million home on this property.
Yeah.
And
Do you think it's going to be worth $1 million if you have 200 tiny homes around it?
I don't understand the stigma of a tiny home being less than this $1 million home that my brother lives in. I don't understand that evaluation. The other thing is if I got that property.
Is it a stick home or is it something already been built and you pulled it in?
I built it stick home.
Okay. Is it on a foundation?
Yes, sir.
So it's not going to be moved?
No.
That makes a lot of difference.
That could have been run, it could be run down, windows busted out.
Yeah.
And a chicken house come in and say, I'm gonna put chickens in this house. Then that can bring the property value down, even though it's $1 million home. There's a 14,000 square foot building sitting across the street from my house.
Yeah, but that $1 million home's still going to be worth $1 million because I can eat them chickens. I can get rid of them chickens.
Well, my point is why is there a stigma on it? Why do people immediately think they're gonna be rental homes? They're gonna be this. they're gonna
Because
be
look
that.
at it right now. What is Fannin County known for right now? We're a tourist attraction. And right now we got, what is it? Is it 4,000 cabins? Something like that? So we've got everything coming in. We got more traffic than we can handle. We have parking problems. Everybody's arguing about parking problems right now. So, and then not only that, now speaking from the law enforcement side of it, crime has went up a little bit because you still have those that follow money. So they come in and they either steal or do something or do damage to things. So things do climb and things increase. So.
But things also don't. There's 6,000 people coming right across from my street last year. 6,000.
Riding horses.
Riding horses.
Right.
6,000 people. Now, if somebody wants to put 3 tiny homes on their property, which I'm understanding 3 is considered subdivision, even though it isn't subdivision, it's for your friends or your family members to come up on your
Now,
property.
you're talking about 2 different things.
I've already been shot down for they told me I couldn't build 2 on my property.
Are you wanting to subdivide them off and have separate deeds for
No,
them?
they told me that I had to, if I wanted to do it.
Did you get the health department? See, the health
That's who I
department.
talked to.
Yeah, and see, we have no control over the health department.
Well, they're saying that 2 or more is a subdivision, and I'm hearing 3 or more is a subdivision.
No. Well, 2 is not, 3 or more is.
Well, I was told 2 or more, and that's why I couldn't do it.
Well, what we
Well,
can do is we
but
can
see,
clarify.
you already
Oh, yeah,
had one
yeah,
on
I
there,
understand.
so you already had your one house. So that's
No, there's no
one.
houses on the property.
I thought you said you had built on.
I did. I built my house as separate. I built my brother's house as separate.
So
Then we
different
have
tracts of
58.
land.
Ma'am,
They're on 2 different deeded tracts of land.
my house is on its own deeded tract. My brother's house is on his own deeded tract, and we own 40 acres together.
It's a separate tract of land.
Yes, ma'am. It's 2, it's actually 2 pieces of land. So it's 2 lots.
But it's 2 lots, but one of those lots already has a house on it.
No. 2 empty lots. One's 8 acres, 7.9 something, and one's 40 acres, 39 point something.
So you and your brother live on that same 7-acre lot,
No,
right?
I live on a 4 3/4 acre lot, he lives on a 5 acre lot, and we own 40 acres.
Okay, so you got 3.
It was all one property. It's one
So
side.
there's 3 tracks,
3.
3 tracts.
There's 4 tracks.
4 tracks.
One's 7.9, one's,
And so what you're wanting to do, you're wanting to build a couple of these on one track. Is what you're wanting to do.
well, yeah. And I could, if I could build a couple of them on one track, then I could put a couple on the other track. Or I
Are you gonna sell them off?
No. That's the whole point of having tiny homes, so that at some point, we can take those off, sell them, whatever you want to, and the property is just like it was before.
So you're gonna rent these things out for like weekend rental?
If I want to, I will, but we have, you know, my family's up here. I have my 91-year-old mother, I have my brother, his wife, my wife, my daughter, and we have out-of-town family. So we don't have anywhere for them to stay when they come up here. If nobody wants to stay in their own house, so this is what we were gonna do to satisfy that. But, I mean, I'm not looking here to come up here and just to get my thing passed and go through a variance. I don't understand when everything I see, through everything I've read, is how you want to keep the property pristine. This is one way to do it. Another thing is we have people in this, waitresses, bartenders. I mean, I don't want to discredit any of it, but they make less money. And you cannot rent a house, because you just said it yourself. I don't know how many rental properties, they're not renting to people up here that want to work.
No.
They're renting to out-of-towners that are coming up here. And you just said, there's so many people coming up here. That's another reason. I would like to, on one part of it, the reason why I'm saying this is because you asked me if I wanted to rent it. I was thinking, what better place during all this stuff happened as a middle-aged woman with 2 kids. And coronavirus, everything cut down, she loses her job, she can work from home. What better place than to live up here on a property that's overseen by me and my brother? I mean, I know y'all don't know us, or know me, but I was thinking, what greater place to be? Somewhere that, you know, you've got 2 God-fearing men that can help watch over them. We have fiber optic internet, so the internet's not a problem. Anybody can work from home. I mean, there's so many advantages to this. If somebody needed a home and they were out of home, I'd like to provide that for them. I can't afford to provide 1,500 square foot home or whatever I saw at 1,000. That now is 5 times or 4 times at least to build than it was 2 years ago.
Have you got a floor plan for everything that you're talking about?
I've done it all myself.
Well, here's another thing, excuse me just one second, but,
And this is not, I mean, not just a
and here's another thing, and what, I feel what these gentlemen are talking about and what you're talking about is 2 separate things. They're talking about 100 acres, just right back after back after back.
Okay, let me.
You're looking at something totally different.
Yeah, but I mean, it still
All right.
falls under, once this law is passed,
So,
I can't do anything. I'll be under that law. And what I'm saying is, the perception is wrong.
no law is passed.
I know,
We're
but I mean,
trying
if
to
it
find
does,
out,
that's why
I
we're
understand.
here.
We're trying to find out solutions that's gonna be the best for all of us moving forward.
I understand.
And I feel that's the reason why this moratorium has been for 2 years.
Yeah.
Is because there is no cut and dry in anything. And I think that's what we have to look at. And just for everybody's knowledge, I mean, we're right in the middle of trying to redo our ordinances, okay? And this is something totally new for us all, okay? So I feel what we're trying to do is to do our homework, to get everything in place to protect both. And I may be totally wrong on that, but
No, I
I can't see
understand, yeah.
putting 100 homes on 100 lots. I mean, that's.
Well, if somebody buys, if they sell the lots to this individual, he builds one, or he
And
brings
then
one and
we
brings
look
one.
at septic, we have to look at septic, if it's X amount.
Green space.
We have to look at, how many people per square foot. If it's 400 square foot, technically you're only supposed to have 2 people there. So, I mean, these are things that we have to look at moving forward.
Exactly.
And,
And all these laws are in place already, right? Because I've read them, I mean. as far as
some of the
planning.
laws are, but I know each state, each county is different. I know if you go south from here, their minimum is 600 square foot.
But you do have an appendix that's accepted, it's been brought in.
The state regulations are there.
Right.
And it's up to us what we need to do as far as that goes.
But did y'all adopt the appendix, I think?
We haven't adopted anything as far as that. That's why we're
Under the building code?
right here now.
Oh, so there's nothing about tiny homes.
There's a
There's
moratorium.
a moratorium on a tiny home subdivision.
But the appendix in the state of Georgia, y'all
If
haven't.
you want to build one on your personal property, by the building code and you can build that,
Right.
yes. But if we put 3 or more on a plot of land, that is where the subdivision comes in.
But what I'm asking is the appendix that the state has under tiny homes. Y'all haven't adopted that here? Because I was understanding that it wasn't.
If you can build your own, that's why you can build one to live in. If you want to put it on your property and you live in it, you can do that.
Sir,
Correct, just like a river.
Yes.
the state law is the state law. We don't have to adopt it.
I don't
The
think-
county can make more stringent, but the county can't be less stringent. So if the state says that 400 square feet, which can only accommodate up to 2 people, is its definition of a tiny home, that applies absent a moratorium, but we have a moratorium, so that's stopping it right now, as to subdivision. But Fannin County could say, we're going to say, we will allow nothing less than 500 square feet. We won't issue you a building permit,
Correct.
which is yet to be decided. But as, county doesn't have to adopt what state law is, because that applies to all of us.
Okay, so that's what we're under right now, is the state law.
Right, and what Fannin County, there is nothing that would prohibit you from building a tiny home on your personal property, provided you had septic tank approval through
Correct. Yeah.
the health department, and you had a water source. They're not gonna give you septic tank approval until you have the water source.
Correct.
But right now, we have a moratorium that says a tract of land cannot be subdivided into 3 or more lots and have a tiny home community. What the Board of Commissioners does later tonight, or what happens when we revise, we're in the process of revising most of our ordinances, that may change somewhat. But the state laws will still be the state laws, and the state law will still say 400 feet accommodates 2 people.
Yeah, I'm
And
fine with all that.
we
I have no
can't
problem with that.
issue, Fannin County can't issue John Citizen a building permit and a certificate of occupancy for a less than 400-foot building to accommodate more than 2 people.
Oh,
State
yeah,
law says
I don't
we can't.
have a problem with it.
Okay.
I understand all that. I mean, that's not why I'm here, but, I mean, again, if you had 40 acres, you wanted to sell it, and you put a camper on it, and you lived in that camper until you sold the property, a year, 2 years, whatever, I don't think that that's gonna bring your property value down.
It probably won't, you can move it.
That's the same thing with a tiny home.
But see,
That's my whole point.
but it's supposed to be, I thought you told me it was gonna be on a foundation.
No, I never said foundation. I never.
You built the home, the home that you built on.
Yes, on my house is on solid foundation, my brother's house, and those are separate properties. We're just at the same place.
Yeah.
They're gonna be our own neighbors.
Ms. Dawes, give
Yes,
us
sir.
a definition of a tiny home. We have tiny homes that are like RVs that can be movable, or we have tiny homes that are under a foundation like
Correct.
Mr.
I
Sir.
think
You
either
can
one
have
of
a split.
things, sir, if, as I understand, and I'm not looking at the state definition right now, and Mr. Nicholson is not here, but I believe that the state defines 400 feet,
Correct.
square feet as a, or less, as a tiny home.
Yes.
So we can
And
be
it would-
either or.
Right.
And you can, and that can be movable or non-movable.
Correct.
Whether or not Fannin County wants its definition to be 400 feet or 800 feet, that's a vote for you gentlemen at the appropriate time. But you can't say, we're gonna adopt a 200 square foot standard because the state of Georgia has said 400.
Can't be more stringent, right?
Yes, sir.
Because, I mean, what I read in the paper was that y'all was thinking about changing to 1,000 square foot or more. And my whole point on that was that everything I read up until that point was that we want to keep land pristine, and we don't have any places, or even the health department told me that they're against cabins, they're against rental cabins and rental stuff. Up here. Right, we're against that, that's why this is going on, because, you know, we don't want more rental, we we need property for people who live here that have jobs that aren't making as much money as people in Atlanta. And if you change that to 1,000 square foot, you're not gonna be able to build a house and rent one. Right down the road, there was one built that says 225,000 sold from the Johnny across the street, built right down the road. I don't even think it's 1,200 square foot.
Well, what it comes to building, what it sells for, two different things, obviously.
But I mean, if you wanted to rent that to somebody, you could not afford it unless you were gonna, you know, give it from yourself.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, these are definitely things we've got to look at for sure. And, hopefully we can get more clarification as we move forward. But I can honestly say I'm not sure, as I've heard that, this board of commissioners saying that it's gotta be 1,000 square feet. So wherever you read
Yeah,
that,
that was
hard.
in the city limits. They said it.
That's in the
Okay,
city
but
limits.
that's
So
the
that's
city.
something totally different. So
Well, I mean,
I know
That's one
it's
step.
something totally different. I
No.
want you to understand that.
We can't
So,
control the
yeah,
slope.
so maybe go to a council meeting and,
that's why I'm here.
it
In the
is,
city.
no, I'm talking about the city
Oh,
council.
no, I don't care nothing about the city,
So,
but I saw that in the paper, that it was the city. I thought I was coming to this and
No,
it was about the
this is
city.
for the county. This is-
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I just wanted, I knew that anything that starts here is
Yeah.
gonna blow off into that eventually.
We don't know that.
I know, but we also don't know that tiny homes are bad,
Yeah.
and that people are gonna come here.
We're also
and
building
everybody's
this and
gonna
building
build.
that, and assuming this and assuming that.
Right.
We haven't heard this board of commissioners agree to anything.
Yeah, I mean, chicken houses, I think, is gonna bring your property down, in my opinion, than, you know, a smaller house next door to me. I just don't understand that part of it. I'd like to have
We've
affordable
got a
housing.
bunch to be thinking about, we sure do,
Right.
so
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you.
Good point.
There's a creek that runs all through that property. And at the top of Eagle Top Road, the very last house, it's just not a whole lot of feet until it's the next county.
Yeah, I think that when you're talking about it, like he's talking about maybe his land, but we're talking about, if you just per perspective. If somebody had 5 acre lot, and if it's a third of an acre, which they talk about maybe doing 4, that's 15 tiny homes on an acre, 15 trailers, 15 tiny homes. But as far as property value goes, has anybody ever seen a neighborhood that had tiny homes or trailers that actually went up in value? And I've been all over, and I've never seen it.
No.
And it does bring, and people will afford what they can afford, but what I'm saying is that our concern is really the subdivisions, or it could be a person that had 5 or 10 acres and put 15 to 30 of these little tiny homes on their property. So that's still a concern, and not much tax revenue.
Sir?
Mr. Chairman, do we need to put, so everybody can get through, looks like there's gonna be several people talking to, I get a time?
Yeah, we can do another 15 minutes.
You want me to turn the timer on?
Well,
So now I can have control over.
I think maybe we just go another 15 minutes and we start our regular.
Okay.
You on agreement with that?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Meeting started 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I'm Jim Spriggs. We're full-time residents on Squirrel Hunting Road, been here about 8 years. I have my apples and oranges consideration for the conversation from a minute ago. But you said that Fannin County doesn't have any control over the city of Blue Ridge. Well, we don't want Fannin County becoming Blue Ridge. We have a deal right down the road from us, 96 acres we just sold. We have mostly rumors about it right now, but the story is that they want to break it into half-acre lots with 160 tiny homes. I have grave concerns with that. Squirrel Hunting Road is not able to support it. I don't think our water table is able to support it. I'm concerned about the sewage and the
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
5 minutes. My name is Chris Elmer. I thank y'all for taking time with this. We are the canaries in the cave on this. Okay, this neighborhood, this one neighborhood is the canary in the cave. A little bit about myself. I am in the process of retiring. I fell in love with this place, and I bought a home here 6 months ago. And I'm with these guys, and I love it here. Y'all have more here than you possibly know. What you said about here is right, and the rest of the world forget it, okay? Long and the short of it is, here are my perspectives. One, I own a corporate housing company. I deal with Airbnb all the time, been doing it for 23 years. Number two, I was on the Volusia County Growth Management Commission. Okay, so I know a little bit about how this works. So here is the position that I would like to state. One is that if they go ahead, they take the 90 acres, they could build over 160 or more tiny homes. These tiny homes would not be for people who are basically working at grocery stores. These tiny homes would be used to rent out as Airbnbs. I can tell you from my experience with Airbnbs, what you get is different people every 3 days. It gets out of hand on a regular basis. I cannot tell you what I deal with every day in replacing furniture and housewares and everything from these places, okay? The crowd, you never know who's going to be in there from one day to the next, okay? The problem is, one of the problems is that the value of the homes, you've got one home, the homes along in the subdivision we are, has regulations that do not allow renters, okay? So you can't Airbnb the homes that we're in. So basically, that is the neighborhood. On the other side of the property line, you've got homes that are worth $500,000, okay? And then you're going to have other homes on the other side of the property line. They're going to be worth, I don't know, maybe $90,000 or less. If they allow to basically do a subdivision on that 90 acres, it will basically cut the property values of the homes in the entire subdivision that we're in and on Squirrel Hunting Road in half. Gone. Guaranteed. Okay? Second thing is the crowd control and basically the traffic. They were talking about the traffic. I counted there were 3.5 blind turns on Squirrel Hunting Road. 3.5 blind turns. People that I live there and I have to navigate it. And basically the situation is going to be if you have a bunch of people that are coming in and out, I'm going to do them on time.
You're doing good.
Bottom line is that there's going to be a traffic issue, okay? And from my experience on the Growth Management Commission, that is a big deal. Second thing is in terms of the population control, the valuation of the homes is going to be really bad. The quality of life is going to really be really bad. And if you think that people working at grocery stores are going to be populating those homes, forget it. They're going to be used as Airbnbs. People are going to be coming and going. Now, the reason why this is a big deal for you guys is because we are a microcosm of what can happen with this thing if y'all don't manage this process with this tiny homes. Because anybody with some money can basically buy a tract of land and basically get, if it's not controlled, and get permitting and basically put these tiny homes out there for rent or for sale. And what will happen is people will buy them and then sub-rent them as Airbnbs, or people will rent them as Airbnbs. Essentially, they're going to be hotel rooms. You talk about crime, watch and see what happens, okay? So that's my position, minute 26 left. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You had plenty of time. We wouldn't have seen you
That's
down.
good.
All right,
Thank you.
I'd like to say something real quick. I see both sides, like you say with this, and I think there's one difference, okay? What you said is true. Tommy, you made some real good points. What I believe, I know you, and what you said is true. It all depends on the motive, okay? Your motive is to help people and to watch over people. The motive you talked about is the person that wants to make money any way they can. And we have got to look at this and make something to satisfy both. That's almost an impossible situation. So that's what I see, okay? And I try to be open, but I do see concerns that you just brought up, and that's what I see we're looking at, Commissioners.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure, sure.
The thousands of rental homes, I forgot how many you said, were in this county. Everybody's renting out to Airbnb or VRBO or whatever. That's going on. There's thousands of them already. And I mean, what I'm hearing is like maybe it's like, oh, we got too many, or I mean, nobody's stopping that. So I mean, if you come in and build subdivision, there's a subdivision behind me that's encroaching all over the top of me. You know, and it's right up against our property. That's not any different to me than a tiny home. I don't understand the difference. There's more people come to those houses. There's 5 or 6 cars. They have a party or whatever. You can hear it all up down the valley. Of course,
I
it's the same
think,
thing, but
I think the difference might be is like, just like this situation here, you're putting over 100 homes on that property, where a normal subdivision, you know,
Well, that's
roundabouts, maybe 10 homes.
There you go, there's your solution. You gotta put a tiny home on 1.33 acres.
Let me give you
Just
the
like a
answer,
house.
let me give you the answer to your
96 out
issue. The answer to your issue is in the dollar amount, okay? On a normal cabin rental, the cabin rental may go for $150, $175, $200 a night, okay? On a tiny home, it can go for $50 a night. So the crowd you're gonna get for $50 a night, the entire crowd that you're gonna get for that as a Airbnb, in my experience, having done this for half of my life, I can tell you right now, it's gonna be a disaster. Mark my
Okay, you were
words.
Volusia County, I own a condo in Volusia County.
Well, let me tell you something about
I've
something.
been renting
Hey.
out for 15 years.
My company services the entire United States of
All right,
America.
Okay, I've been on the
Jim.
news, right?
Hey, that's good, but let me tell you something
I've had
about
no
it.
problem. I've seen that not happen.
Let me tell you something from a guy that lives in Fannin County, that you said that we didn't, what was the difference of the cabins, and we didn't do much about that? Well, we wouldn't, that was a learning process, because on my road where I live, as I've lived here all my life, there was 3 homes on it, counting mine, when we built it. It was a dirt road.
There was no houses on that when I did.
Well, Mr. Odette was there, and then we come in, and his son-in-law. But since then, we have, I can't remember exactly, but I'm sure there's about 10 or 12. These are cabins that are rented out on the rental program. I've been in more fusses and fights on my road in the last few years than what I do when I come work a shift here in Blue Ridge, because of some of the people that's come in. Now, the reason I said that is because I understand what you're saying about the $50 compared to the $150, but even at $600 and $700 a week for some of these people, they still fuss and fight and get drunk and all this other stuff. And we locals, wherever you want to say it, have to put up with that because that's in our neighborhoods. Now, our job is I understand nobody's trying to tell you what to build or tell you how many to build or anything like that, but we got to be respectful and decent and think about the people that's lived here all their lives, and this is their home. They ain't going anywhere else because they grew up here, they're going to die here. And I'm one of those people. But the thing that I'm getting at is this. If we're going to, I understand, Coach, that was a great point. And I understand both sides. But we, on 90 acres of land, they don't need to be no daggone 300 tiny homes up there with all those people. There goes their Southern comfort way of life just gone out the window. And I'm not for that.
Right.
So if we can put it on and she can tell us how we can do it legally, we'll do it as legal as we can and try to satisfy everybody. But we're not going to just push these people's peaceful feelings away anymore.
Yeah.
Not me
I
here.
might add one thing. I don't want it to get lost in translation about renting either. This is not just about renting, because most of Squirrel Hunt Road, there are people, like I said, I got a little over 4 acres and a place on top of a mountain overlooking a great thing. And I grew up in Georgia, lived here my whole life. We moved up here because, as most people do, you try to get away. You got half the people from up north moving down here on the halfback, shooting to Florida, and they come halfway back, and they're living here. And the prices go up and goes crazy. So we want to get a place where we could have, we've been looking for, so we've been here 25 years. So it's not just a rental. We don't allow renting. It's most not. But it's not just renting. I'm just talking about the land itself. If you got 100, I don't care if it's 100 houses on 96 acres, that's a lot to throw on a road, whether you rent them or not. But nobody has 1 acre. If you lower this down to 1 in the neighborhoods that got tracts of acres that are 100 acres, 50 acres, 5 acres, like I said, most of them have 3. That's a lot of the county. So it's not just renting, it's just the fact that you're gonna load a ton of people in here. And some people, they've had it. They quit their job and I'm gonna buy me a $40,000 tiny house and I'm gonna come up there and just live. Right? That's it. That's it. It ain't got no job or nothing else. I'm gonna go in this neighborhood, I'm just gonna live. And that's it. So I just wanna say it's the number of houses, the areas that's the key. What you do to the environment. the other part of it, like he says, most of the time they are B&Bs, but whether they are or not, you're still gonna have a big problem.
Yeah, it's gotten right now to where some of these restaurants out here, Wendy's, and Arby's, just all these fast food, their employees can't even afford to live here.
That's right.
And you know, and so all these businesses are hurting, and because they can't keep their employees. I mean, who wants to come work for $12 an hour, and then you get up there and you can't even pay your rent? I mean, because rent's $1,500 a month.
Right.
I mean, that's why they can't keep nobody. But if you can help people with renting tiny homes, I don't have a problem with that. But the problem I have is that I just don't, I'm about tired of seeing all the mountains be took away.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Me too. And when it's scattered.
and then we're not planting no trees back to cover
That's
that.
right, that's my point, the scalpel.
All right, ladies and
They
gentlemen, we're,
scalpel, what they did, the Boy Scout camp?
Yeah.
I want to, I want you to,
I just wanted to say something about what he just said.
You want to stand up and go back and hear you at the mic. If you don't care, can you do that?
Yeah.
So everybody can hear you. You need help?
Well, I just wanted to comment on something Johnny just said, talking about the Burger Kings and all that stuff, and nobody can afford this and nobody can afford that and everything, and 12 and 15 or whatever, all this an hour. Man, that's more money than I made my whole life. And right up until COVID, all these places had people that wanted to work. The government just started handing out checks. That's why nobody don't want to work. And, but saying, well, nobody can afford this, nobody can afford that. They didn't have no problem doing it before COVID. And
Yeah, but rent wasn't as high until everybody moved in and all the prices went up.
yeah. Yeah, well, I lived in a place before here that the county made a big move like that. They went from, I don't know, 45,000 to their goal was, we need to get 100,000. And they let everything come in on the west end of the county, on the end I lived on. Of course, they all lived on the east side. And now there's more gangs and all kinds of everything down there. It was so bad that we left a lot earlier than we intended to. And luckily we were, able to find a place up here. But to me, even if it's just, like you said, 100 homes as opposed to 300, whatever, that's 100 more cars, that's 300 more, whatever, however many more cars, more people, like you said, people carrying on and acting up. And I know what happens when you dump everybody into one little place like that, because it happened the same place I just moved here from 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they totally destroyed the west end of the county. We never had gangs or any kind of problem like that before. But you did right next. I had a cop living on one side and a dope dealer living on the other. And I was stuck in the middle, so, I heard the gentleman say something about, well, you've already got this many rentals and all this stuff and all that. Right, and then there's times when, like you said, when the mountains are going away and you ain't putting nothing back. It's a bad road to go down.
Appreciate your comments.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You just made a great point. When we were kids, the minimum wage was what, $2.50 an hour or something like that? And you pooled together with 2 or 3 of your buddies and you went and rented a place and you toughed it out. And that's how you grow up and that's how you make it.
Gasoline was a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I bought it from a motorcycle one time. It was probably, what, 10 cents when you was young.
all right, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I appreciate everybody's input for and against. I appreciate that. It gives us a lot more to be thinking about as we move forward and trying to make the right decision.
Yeah.
So that being said, I'll ask Commissioner Patterson if he'll lead us in the invocation. We'll open our regular meeting.
Would you mind if some of us left, or is that gonna be discussed in the regular?
Last invocation.
Sorry?
Wait,
You wait till after invocation. I'm just kidding.
Wait till after the invocation.
Oh, not a problem.
Skip that a little.
I'd like to put
That too, absolutely.
And,
All right, let's pray. Lord, we just thank you for this group that's here tonight. We thank you for our interested citizens that give important input in this difficult situation that faces us. Help us as leaders to listen openly to each and every one, and help us to jointly make something that works for your glory and your honor. Lord, we just thank you again for each of these men that I work with, Mr. Searcy, Mr. Hensley. And thank you again for our citizens. Thank you for the ones that aren't here, Lord. Just be with us during this COVID. Thank you for your blessings that you've been with us so far. Be with each and every one here in the county, and help us, Lord, in this situation. Give us wisdom. Thank you now, and go with us to the rest of this meeting. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir, flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yeah, if anybody wants to leave, you can.
We're done with tiny homes.
That's it.
Thank you.
Well, we're not going to discuss.
We're done. This is
We've
good.
got enough facts. If you need any more, we'll give them.
Thank you.
Very glad.
Thank you for your comments, Joel. I really appreciate it. Always coming back.
I love the fact that you love Fannin as much as we do.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
I really-
Thank you, sir. Very nice to meet you. Thank y'all.
Our consideration, because this is very important to protect our area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you did it.
And thank you.
I prayed you a whole lot.
Thank you. I needed it. Still need it. Thank you. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Be safe going home, okay? Okay. That group showed up last year. All right. Under unfinished business, number 2, approve the minutes of the August 10th, 2021 regular scheduled board meeting. Commissioner Patterson, any errors or omissions?
I have none at this time.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Thurman?
No, sir.
All right, I'll ask for a motion that we approve the minutes from the August 10th, 2021 regular scheduled board meeting.
I make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor? All right. Minutes are approved. Thanks, sir. So number 3, we, under unfinished business, is the discussion on the tiny home subdivision moratorium. So we've heard for and against. Prior, it's a little bit different, our meeting was, but, Commissioner Patterson, any thoughts as we move forward?
I think, you know, I'm open to listening. I see a dilemma. I just, at this point in time, there's a lot of things to look at as far as the economic structure and how it will affect Fannin County. I just, at this point in time, I would just like to see maybe, more time to look at it. It's a very difficult situation, and we need to look at an ordinance, and have a moratorium till we feel like that we've got one that works. That's my voice right now.
I feel the same.
Well, I think we're all in agreement on that. I myself, there's a lot of unknowns. And I know these, like I say, I know Keith and Maria are definitely working on trying to give us a little more clarification on things. I'll make a motion that we continue the moratorium on the tiny home subdivision till our first meeting in January of next year. And this way, it would give us plenty of time to get our subdivision or the get ordinances in place, and give us a little bit more time to research. So that would be my suggestion, and I'll make a motion that we put a moratorium on the tiny home subdivision until our first meeting in January.
Will we be able to get together and maybe Ms. Dawson help us with answering some questions that some of us may have?
Yeah, that would give us plenty of time, and we can also have another public hearing, at another time as well, if we like.
Okay.
When you start to consider the revisions to all the ordinances, we will have to have 2 public hearings on the book of ordinances,
Yeah.
which this would hopefully be part of.
And then that'd also be like if we come up with a suggestion of our own.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'll second it.
All in favor? All right. Under new business. We have a variance request from Stephen and Christine Milwee to build a new home with porches 35 foot from the edge and 40 foot from the center line of Highland Gap in the Highland subdivision, lot number 11. Is there anyone here against this variance request? Is there anyone here for it? Okay. Gentlemen, I went out there and took a look at it. Also spoke with Mr. Nicholson about that, and I've seen no issues with what needs to be done. Mr. Searson?
No, sir, I'm fine with it.
Mr. Patrick?
I've looked at it as well. I don't see any problems.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion that we approve the variance request from Stephen and Christine Milwee.
Make a motion.
Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Number 5, we have a variance request from Toby and Fred Bird to build a carport. The closest point is 6 feet from the property line. The proposed carport will be 43 feet from the center line and 37 feet from the edge of Snake Nation Overlook. Once again, I went out and took a look at it, and basically what it looks to me like is there's a parking area already there, and they're just trying to close that parking area.
Where's that 6 feet at? What was it?
That's from the next door neighbor there.
And the next door neighbor had to give him permission.
Next door neighbor has given permission.
Got a written
Yeah.
permission.
Anything on that, Mr. Turkey?
No, sir.
Mr. Patrick?
I'm good with that.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the variance request from Toby and Fred Bird. I'll make that motion. Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? And number 6, a variance request from Richard and Jennifer Owen to place a garage 15 foot from Brent Lane. And Brent Lane, excuse me, has no prescriptive easement. It is a private drive. Also went out there and took a look at that. Saw no issues myself. Mr. Patterson?
Well, I didn't see any issues. 15 foot, it is a private drive, but it's awful close. I was looking at the plans. Do we have someone here to talk with that? Looks like the plan is just a garage right now. They plan on having a house later on, right?
And that's
what I saw.
That's what it looked like, and it looked like the house was gonna be behind, set
Right,
a little further
right.
setback.
A further setback.
Yeah.
That garage, even within the road, is a little close. We're talking about 15 feet. It just depends on how much traffic is going to be on that road, 5, 10 years from now. Somebody could even run into that garage only 15 feet from the edge of the road. Right now, it's fine, but I was just thinking it's a little tight.
There's 2 other lots past it, and I know there is a house.
But it's
currently
15
past
feet
that.
from there, ain't it?
15 feet from the edge of the road, yeah.
From the edge of the road, 10 yards. Just a garage.
See, or the county have, is that a private road or is it a county road?
No.
Private road, private.
Would you want to table this until we can talk to
Well,
Mr. Nicholson on it, or?
you say there's 2 more houses?
There's 2 lots
Further
past.
on down, I didn't go further on
Yeah,
down.
there's 2 lots past, and there's a house already there.
How close is it to the road?
The house past that is, it's probably another 500 feet past it.
But I mean, how close is it to
It's-
the road? Is it 15 feet?
It's fairly close. It's more than 15 feet, yes.
I would just like to maybe see something around 30 feet. It would help them.
Yeah.
I would think that, somebody could come off 10, 15 feet's not a lot.
It's not, I'm not sure that there's more land there behind it to do it.
Yeah, I don't know how much property they have on that.
Okay.
I was hoping that'd be here tonight, but,
Yeah.
It looked like there was 1.65 or something, but why don't we table it till we can talk to
It
Kitty?
drops off considerably right past that, but we can do that. So, all right, I'll ask for a motion that we table a variance request for Mr. and Ms. Owen until our next regular meeting.
I said, or I make a motion.
Okay. I'll second. All in favor? Brings us to number 7. That's our last item on review business, a resolution on the millage rate. Any discussion before we move forward?
I have none.
I have no, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion that the county maintain a millage rate of 3.862 moving into our 2022 year. I'll make that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Good job.
That opens up to public commentary. Anybody got anything they want to say this evening before we go home? Or is everything done been said?
Can we talk about that again?
I'd love you more than welcome to.
She's got one niece, so I'm coming up for her this time.
Yeah.
One thing that she wanted to bring up was, because we saw what happened in the county where we live and the crime and everything that came along with it. With tourism being the lifeblood of the county, if you start getting, where the crime rates go up and all that stuff, those people ain't gonna wanna come up here. And that's cutting off the
your nose to spite your
Yeah,
face.
they say dance with the one that brung you, you know. So that's just something that she wanted to add into that.
Appreciate
All right,
that.
Appreciate
thank you.
that.
Thanks, Lee.
Mhm. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Zach don't have none?
You're supposed to get a 5-minute speech on
Man, it's noise
Clean it
every
off.
time I come here, he's wanting
Yeah,
something.
I know it. All right, we'll close the public commentary. Gentlemen, y'all need executive session for anything?
I do not.
I did not either, sir.
That being said, I'll make a motion that we close the meeting, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned.
Man, on those shows.